6:21 in Trinidad and Tobago. And just before we get going with our first interview, yesterday I had caused to drive around the savannah, and I realized that I spent a lot of time, because I have sometimes had to pass through, see about some things in North Port of Spain. I tend to drive around the savannah quite a bit. Does that qualify me to be a candidate for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West? Because if you go by what Keith Scotland said, that from his St. Vincent's office he drives past or drives around Port of Spain South, so he feels some connection with the area. I just drive around the savannah all the time. I could take pictures to show that I was there. So maybe I qualify as a candidate for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. I could beat Stuart T.
Do you feel connected?
I feel connected. I do. I feel connected with the saman trees and the poet trees around there. But anyway, let's move along. Imagine that you go say that you just drive past on the way and you feel a connection. PNM for you, boy. When you rule an area, you rule an area. You can put anybody. Anyway, the movement for social justice hopes to make a good enough impact in Pointe to deliver a victory at the August 10th polls. Our political leader and the party's candidate, David Abdulah, vows to be more than just a familiar face to constituents. He told reporters during a walkabout that the refinery must be restarted, and Patriotic must get that agreement signed by the government right away. I believe he's ready to join us now via Zoom. No, he's not ready as yet, but hopefully he'll be able to join us as quickly as possible. And while we're waiting for him to link up, I suppose the public would like to know, what is the latest with Patriotic Energies? What is the latest as far as that arrangement? Because it seemed to be a real sweetheart deal that the company that is the preferred bidder, in this case Patriotic Energies, you have to pay $700 million US to get it, but the payment is deferred for 10 years. So that means you don't have to pay. So how is that going to work? Okay, but we haven't really been getting much information on that arrangement. I think the last we would have heard was that there have been calls for greater transparency from the general public, and the head of the OWTU, Ansel Roger, has said, look, that negotiations were at a delicate stage at some point, and they promised that they were going to reveal all. But when last have we really heard anything as far as some specifics as to where we are at with the Patriotic Energies arrangement? Would the unions be as quiet as they are if it were Massey Group or Ansa Makal? Would they be as quiet about it? But they're all quiet. You don't hear them saying anything about it. Is it because it's their own? So in other words, if it's your own saying about it, you have nothing to say? It can't work that way. You can't have it that you can't be bawling for transparency when there's government involvement and private sector involvement and so on, and saying this is about the hoity-toities and the entrenched 1% or whoever else. But yet when the shoe is on the other foot, you're running for cover and you have nothing to say, and you have no union member, no union calling for transparency. It don't work so, brother man. It don't work so at all. But anyway, we're still waiting to link up with David Abdulah. Just to mention another point in relation to the CCJ, I'm following some of the reporting here from the Starbrook News in Georgetown and the Guyana Chronicle as well. And the 5 justices of the CCJ, the president is Justice Adrian Saunders, Justice Jacob Vitt, Justice Maureen Rajnath Lee, Justice Denise Barrow, and Justice Peter Jamada. Which means that there are 2 Indians there, 2 out of the 5, which means that the UNC should support it. Because remember, that was what Kamla Prasad Bisesa said way back in 2005, as to why, that's when they were in opposition, as to why they're not supporting the CCJ. That's after Basdeo Pandey, when he was Prime Minister, said that they will support the CCJ, only to change the tune when they went out of office. I mean, I don't know when this region is going to be bold enough to call out dotishness when it is dotishness on all sides, and for us to try to move forward as a region that believes in governance and accountability and at a level which talks about performance and accountability and fairness and impartiality and so on, and not who is our Indian and who is our African and who is our PNM and who is our UNC. But anyway, let's go to our break because we seem to be having some challenges linking up with David Abdulah. It's 6:26 in Trinidad and Tobago. Are we taking a break now? Yes. Let's take that break and then we'll come back and see how we can sort things out as far as our next interview.
PRW sending our love and best wishes to everyone. Check out our new store at 79 Samaru Road, Aranguez. Find us on Waze or Google Maps. Get an LG 65-inch Smart TV only $7,500, TV box only $375, Samsung Galaxy tablets $1041, HP laptop $49.99, Western Global 8-channel combo $3,500, HP LaserJet printer $3,600. Call or visit PRW today at 638-6448 or 285-9779.
Welcome to the world of Sri Durga Devi Astrology Center. Meet Pandit Das Prakash. Pandit Ji uses his skills to accurately read your palm and face, offers horoscope readings, and tells the secret of your past, present, and future life. He helps people in 100% removal of depression, bad luck, and black magic. Can be cured in a short time span by our famous Pandit Das Prakash.
TV advertising can do more for your business than you might think. If you're the owner of a small, medium, or micro enterprise, let's navigate through these challenging times together. Don't be intimidated by perception. With our expertise guiding you every step of the way, you're that much closer to achieving your advertising objectives, all within budget. Let us simplify the process and help you manage your advertising strategies. We are here to take you from concept to execution. Contact us today to explore the opportunities for growth available to you. You can do more for your business with TV advertising.
Embarrassment to nature. Do you know that?
.29 approaching 6:30 in Trinidad and Tobago. Just to let you know quickly that Shannon Gabriel has picked up a second wicket at the start of the second day of the first test, West Indies against England in Southampton. Joe Denley bowled by Gabriel for 18, so England at the moment 48 for 2 after so much rain on day one. 48 for 2, winning the toss and batting first as international cricket returns with the start of this series. Well, okay, we've finally been able to make contact with David Abdulah. We've lost quite a bit of time already. He is the political leader of the Movement for Social Justice. He's the candidate for Pointe. David, thanks very much. Thankfully, we've been able to finally link up with you. Limited time, but you've been reported as saying that it's time to reopen the refinery. Is that fundamental to your campaign? Is that one of the main platforms of your campaign for Pointe?
Yes, Morning Fazia, my apologies for the difficulty in contacting me, for me getting on earlier. And good morning to all of your viewers. Yes, it is a central point because obviously the constituency of Pointe, both in terms of people who own businesses, workers, persons who used to supply goods and services to the refinery, and persons who depended on their businesses for the workers earning an income and then patronizing their businesses So much of the economic life of the constituency of Pointe was very badly affected by the closure of the refinery. It's now been almost 2 years, because we are in July, the refinery actually, and Petrotrin workers went home at the end of November. So it's 1 year and going on 8 months since refinery has been closed, and business activity has been very badly affected. Workers have been without jobs, without income. The life of Marabella and constituency of Pointe has been very badly affected. And I've been speaking to people, business owners in the community. I've spoken to quite a number of them. They're very deeply concerned. As I walk, former workers, retirees who don't have their medical plan, a whole range of interests of people have been affected. And so, yes, I've made that call, and I'm calling again on the Dr. Rowley-led government to sign the agreement with the Patriotic Energies and Technologies Limited, the oil use company. Let's get that agreement signed right away, and the government has the responsibility to do that, and that's a call.
But do we know enough information about the arrangement, David Abdulah? The question is the way it was presented with the Patriotic Energies as a preferred bidder, $700 million US and being payment deferred for some 10 years, I believe it was, and we really haven't gotten a lot of detail. How can we expect something as significant as a refinery to be restarted in the absence of the general public having all the information?
Well, yes, the general public don't have all the information. I don't have all the information. I wasn't part of the negotiating process.
So if you would allow me to interrupt, David, isn't it hypocritical of you and others in the labor movement to stay quiet on this when you would have been making noise if it was Massey or Ansa McCall getting this deal?
No, but there was a process, and the process wasn't limited to a minister of government making an announcement and making a decision. If that had happened, yes, certainly we'd make noise. But remember, there was a committee that was set up to review the bids, and that committee involved a number of persons who were completely outside of the government, independent persons, who reviewed not just Patriotic's bid, but all the bids, and made a recommendation. And then on the basis of that, Patriotic was identified as a preferred bidder, and then the company was required to address a number of additional issues which the committee requested, and which Patriotic submitted information on that. And that was in September last year. They were given a certain time period. They complied within the time period to present the information, and so all of that has been done. Now, the issue of the terms of the agreement, the exact terms of the agreement and so on, obviously will be made public when the agreement is signed, because there are certain aspects which are still, the union hasn't been able, for example, or Patriotic has not been able to speak about the details of their bid because of a gag order, if you wish, or not a gag order, but an agreement for persons not to disclose the terms until the agreement has been signed. But there was a process, and the process did not involve a single minister making a decision. It involved many persons reviewing the bids, and further to Patriotic being identified as preferred bidder, there was a further set of questions that were presented, which questions were made public. The government did identify what those questions were, and Patriotic responded. So I don't think one could say that there's been an absence of transparency in the process at all. And the issue is for the MSJ, coming back to the Point of Pierre campaign explicitly, we have been, and I personally have always, of course, stood first of all against the closure of the refinery, against the closure of Petrotrin and the retrenchment of all the workers. I spoke on your program and many other programs publicly, and we've vented the economic debates and so on with the government and with Mr. Espinay, the then chairman of Petrotrin, on this question, and challenged all of that. I gave evidence before the industrial court, challenging the evidence of the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Finance on the whole issue that he was claiming that the company didn't get shut down, then our ratings would have plummeted as Moody's and S&P's, the rating agencies, credit ratings agencies. So I gave evidence against that, and he was shown to be less than truthful in the industrial court. So on the basis of my evidence, so we have stood very clear.
Seems that the picture is frozen on us. Let's see if we could get it re-established as quickly as we can, because we've already lost quite a bit of time in our intention to discuss a number of issues with David Abdulah, who's the leader of the MSJ. They are contesting, I believe, some 5 seats overall, and he is contesting Pointe, and with that key issue of the refinery and the closure of the refinery, as he mentioned, November of 2018, not 2019. So it was, as he said correctly, almost a year and a half, more than a year and a half since its closure. As we are waiting to re-establish contact with him, if it is a matter of significant interest indeed for those involved with the refinery, we would have expected to hear quite a bit. But David, we lost you just a bit as your picture froze up, but I think you're back with us.
Yes.
Time wouldn't allow us to develop too many other points because we've started so late.
Yes.
But any other issues that are part of your platform talking about campaigning for Pointe?
Yes, certainly, President. Yes, which are closing down one by one. The latest one was Stringent 1, which is 51% owned by the government, 49% by Yara. That has been closed or is about to be closed, and we understand that Stringent 2 may shut down. And then, of course, the steel mill, which is in Pointe. Now, those plants lie outside of the constituency of Pointe, but many persons who live in the constituency of Pointe, many businesses in Pointe, are engaged in providing services, or were engaged in providing services to those plants, and were employed directly and indirectly. So the whole energy sector is central to the life of Trinidad and Tobago, and central to the constituency of Pointe. And so, I've been involved in the energy sector through the union. I've studied it. I've been involved in at very many levels of national service with respect to consideration of the energy sector of this country. And so the life of the downstream energy sector, for the of course, is downstream, refining, the petrochemical plants, the steel mill, all of those are downstream. And therefore the life of those plants and industries are vital. And yes, we understand that the global economy is shifting and so on. But while we have assets, we must maximize those assets, and the surpluses from those assets must then be used to diversify the economy. Without those assets in productive activity, we will not generate the foreign exchange that is so badly needed for the country, and which is in short supply now. We will not generate the government revenues which are so necessary, which government revenues are in a state of crisis and in decline. We will not be able to generate business activity that provides services or depend on workers to buy goods and services. So that downstream energy sector is vital, and we have to maximize it for as long as we can while we focus on diversification. So that's central to Pointe. And very quickly, if I have a minute,
yes,
with respect to the MSJ in general. As you know, we're contesting 4 seats at the moment. We may add 1 more in the next few days. We're considering Lambre, and may announce that in the next few days. We're working on that. But people may ask, why only 4 seats? And we're very focused, we're very strategic. It's very difficult to convince the entire country to make a sweeping change in terms of the traditional parties, and to be able to get people to vote differently throughout the country. So we're focused on a few seats, but with a few of us in Parliament, we could create a balance to ensure that whoever is the government, and we're not going to go into a coalition with anyone, because coalition politics governance doesn't work, because the larger party dominates the smaller party. When with collective cabinet responsibility, you have to jump and follow suit whatever the larger the cabinet says, whether it is good or bad. If you don't like it, then you walk, or you hold your nose and stay. And that's certainly, therefore, not the approach. So, but with us in Parliament with a strategic number of seats, then whoever's in government will depend on us for their support. But they want the ministerial positions. We are not interested in that. But in return for our support, we will then say these are the fundamental issues of change that the country needs, that none of them are interested in doing and have not implemented. Public procurement legislation needs to be fully implemented. Campaign or party finance regulations and laws have to be implemented. Local government reform, constitutional reform, things that would advance transparency, accountability, good governance in this country. Those are the issues that we will then press for, quite apart from representing our constituents in Parliament very effectively. And therefore, the MSJ can be a very powerful wedge to begin the process of fundamental change in this country, which we have not had and which we will not get from the two traditional parties that have been in charge of the country over very many decades and have failed to bring about real change. And that's the cry that I'm getting on the ground. People want change. People want a difference because they know they've been exchanging. They know that those are the two parties on the flip sides, ethnic flip sides of the same coin, and are not seeking to do anything fundamentally different. And certainly in Pointe those persons against whom I'm contesting really have not done anything, and neither they individually nor their parties have done anything to ensure that the livelihoods of people in Pointe are secured, that businesses are secured in terms of the energy sector.
David Abdulah, again, because of the issues with the delayed start, not as much time as we would have hoped for, but thanks very much for taking the time to be with us this morning. The leader of the MSJ, as he mentioned, contesting 4 seats at the moment. They anticipate a fifth seat to be added, and a third wicket added for Shannon Gabriel. He's just had Joe Burns, LBW, for 30, initially given not out on review, was shown to be hitting leg stumps. So a third wicket for Shannon Gabriel. England resuming this morning at 35 for 1 on the second day of what is already a rain-affected first test in Southampton. England are 51 for 3. 3 wickets for Gabriel, who's sharing the relatively new ball duties with Kemar Roach at this time. So a good start to the second day here for the